I'll try to summon the will to make a tape in case of somebody who benefits psychologically or emotionally from hearing from me. I don't know that there is anybody. Maybe I do a little, but I don't really have anything to say. What's on my mind is something that's a little bit shadowy to me. I mean, there's light, but it's colorful. What I mean is, I don't know if it is really representative of my conscious state. I've had a very deep, restful nap today. And I don't think it's time for me to go to bed, even though it's getting close to my general beddy bye. I thought, what if I honored a request to pen a letter to Mr. Gabriel? And one of my family resources took a look at a picture of Fripp in 1979 when he was a heavily manicured parochial altar boy. And she looked at me with a steady gaze that nevertheless seemed to roll her eyes as though, how could you possibly have been taken in by somebody so obviously your ideological adversary? Well, you see, what we're dealing with in rock and roll history, it plays out as the thermobaric bombs in Gaza. And people who are endeared to it are now permanently cursed by it. But we're talking about period pieces. For example, In the Wake of Poseidon is a moody blues like choral masterpiece of mood intelligence and soulfulness. It pours from the heart, and it has gorgeous overtones and a kind of counterbalance from dissonance, harmonizing, dissonance dissonance accompanying the overtones. And it's if you're not, I was 10 years old when I heard it and meditated on it. And it went really very deeply into my mind and soul, and I absorbed it. And it seemed to me to have a sort of patience to it and benevolence. And the lyrics were tricky, they were curious and wonders that were complemented by the images from Tammo de Jong's archetypes on the cover. And I identified them as um, gifted group of bums. And I tried playing it years later at a gathering, and it was shut right off. It was as though the contents couldn't even be recognized. It was like somebody had unrolled a rug on the ceiling. Where do you get that? What are you doing with that thing up there? Gabriel's so is different for me than us. I wouldn't know what to say to him. Dear Mr. Gabriel, I don't know whether this is going to reach your light side or your dark side. I wouldn't know what to say to him. I mean, I didn't really handle it bureaucratically. I was just sending him conscious contents, which was in its way was honest to the period of where we were living through. And us really was abrasive because it was a gaslighting fireball that took from that voice again and threw it in my face, the whole thing in my face for Yoko Ono. But you remember that Us did a lot of good for me. I mean, got to walk out of here. I can't take anymore. I mean, it gave Randy. I didn't get to the point where I dared to say the word hard until Greta came along. But it reached, keep my heart down below. I was reaching for it. And it was meaningful to me. And it was possible for me to say thank you to them in all sincerity. Because I was, after all, neurotraumatized. I was dealing with clouded circuitry. And I'm not the type of person who likes putting myself apart from other people who have offered me a degree of condolence. And I got hot-wired into the gazettes because of how I placed socially. I did my best to keep my chin up. I really did. I've never hidden my love for the woman who I admire, even though it's shadowed. But could we move on from this monstrosity somehow before it's too late to form a team for remedying this completely implausible condition we put ourselves in? I'm not making any special appeal to gangsters because I know how they think and what they're capable of. But I am saying if this is the best we can do, that has to be our point of departure. We have to do better from here. I'm not forgetful of anything that has happened, nor am I cold hearted enough to say it should be forgotten, forgiven. Some things are impossible. But there has to be limitations on the albatross of grudge warfare. And we have to keep in perspective what we live by and not make compromises of our compunctions which render us ridiculous. And it is ridiculous not to use everything that we have in our resource bank to put a stop to Israel's blood-curdling nonsense and to do it now. They are sado and we are masochistic in this relationship. And that has to end. We can't keep sacrificing ourselves on the altar of the Wailing Wall to benefit cackling, maniacal sadists. And if the Israelis are listening to me, believe me, I could say worse. I don't want to. I don't want my hatred to turn into open animosity for you. Permanent, burning, actionable opposition. I am not at war with Israel, personally. There's a difference between what I'm saying and being at war with Israel personally. If you continue to circle me with intent to signify your elect concept of attacking and destroying a symbol of the United States, I have nothing further to say to you. I won't be here to say anything at all. If you come to my door, past friendship, Tom Gordon, I have a couple of books I've been saving for you. Berlin Alexanderplatz and the House of Nere. You're welcome to pick them up and then be off. I do not want an adversarial relationship with the Jewish community in which I have siblings. But do not make a further mockery of me. Do not do it. Because I now understand that you've done it to make a mockery of the United States. It's impersonal. Steve Langer, a Zionist of Princeton, said, "I'm not sorry for anything I did, only that it had to be you." That means it wasn't personal. It was symbolic. I came from Plymouth Meeting. We were in the Revolutionary War. We didn't own slaves. My father was a human rights advocate who refused to step foot in Germany. His most beloved child is Jewish. These things are identifiable to others, sir. And as long as you kept it looking like it was just Jimmy Crary being made a gaslighting object of by the tri-state, by people like Edgar Snyder and Myron Cope, you could easily get away with it because a lot of people empathized with the theme of Jimmy Crary just being a laughingstock. But when you peel back some layers of the cruelty and look at what they did and to who and why, you come to what Miles Kirshner called the too good principle. What made me too good? I was born 1 week after Mazeroski's Homer. My father was chair of philosophy of education at the University of Pittsburgh. He was from Bush's ship in the Navy. My family traced its lineage to Plymouth Meeting. These are some of the components of what were considered too good. I spent my summers in St. Louis with a distinguished couple from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. They were named so by vote of Poplar Bluff Council. They used to have a pen, Distinguished Citizens of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. It was given to them by the Council of Poplar Bluff. We went to Wapapello Lake and fished for bluegills. I asked my grandmother if she remembered when Granddaddy had to cut a barb from her thumb from a fishing lure that went through it. She looked at me and she said, "Jim, I try to remember the good things, not the bad. I don't remember that happening at all." I do too. I'm not going to sit here and play the game of reunion with you, not after what you pulled. But I do remember some good. Let's keep it that way, please.